How you doing, guys? Today we're going to take a little look back at 4 of the tractors that were on my channel. In VinsRJ HQ, first tractor I wanted to talk about is the first build on this channel, and that would be the 1954 RJ 25 prototype. The tractor started pretty much with just a frame. It was probably a 1955 cable steer. I found it at the Zagre Tractor Show. I paid $100 for it, and from there, because so many pieces and parts were gone, I said, well, you know what, I'll just build kind of like an RJ 25, 35. I didn't really have any idea exactly what I was going to do, but what ended up being the outcome of it was I built the tractor that was on the cover of a wheel horse book. And in theory, the tractor was the original prototype tractor brought to the 1954 implement show, and that the original orders for the RJ kind of started, was essentially from what I've read and what I've learned from other people. So what I did was I basically took the Hulk that I had bought at the Zagre Tractor Show, and I started to build it up. I hand formed the hood. I'm actually looking at a picture of it so I can remember what I did. I mean, I hand formed the hood. Basically had to build the steering wheel because it was kind of a one-off steering wheel to match the steering wheel that's in the picture. Also, I had to build a lot of the other parts, like the lift arm. None of it was there, so I just replicated all that. The speed selector arm, I built that from scratch. It was the first Model 8 motor that I rebuilt from the ground up. I had done that one. I had to rebuild the Vari-Drive, rebuild the rear gear case. I had to find a seat. It didn't have, I don't remember, it might not have had a seat spring. So a really nice guy in Michigan gave me, sold me a seat spring for it. So we were able to put it all together. Basically, the semi-flat black color that I used was actually a Exo Rust. I believe that was a True Value Exo Rust color that I used for all of that. The hood was leftover paint that I had from my 65 GS build. So that's actually 1965 GS Flame Red that I used on the hood. And the wheel horse, the front like decal was a stencil, and we dusted single stage cream paint on it to kind of mimic what was on the front of the hood. Obviously, it was all rough measured by me, and then I put it on there. And and then everything else, like the wheels, the belt guard, the steering wheel, the seat. There's maybe about 4 or 5 other parts that were all powder coated gloss black. So we had the semi-flat black on all the frame stuff, and then all the erroneous bits and pieces I did in glossy powder coat. So it really showed nice. And when I brought it to the Wheel Horse Show, as you can see here, it was funny. I got a lot of attention to it. Now, Lawn and Garden magazine was there, and I'm not saying anything bad about them. It's fine. I'm just saying this was 10, 12 years, 11 years ago, so it doesn't really matter. Who cares? They walked right by it. No interest whatsoever. Not that I was looking for it, but I mean, at the end of June, beginning of July, you should have felt the winter wind. Oh, I was on blast. They right by it. But an individual at the show, a really cool guy, really took a liking to it. So ultimately, what happened with that tractor is I got sick and tired of babysitting it because, it was so minty. And I'm not trying to boast, I'm just saying it was so minty that I didn't want to scratch it. I didn't want to get dirt and oil flicked all over it. So it basically sat in my shed for a couple of years. And then my brother bought it from me, and my brother had it for a while. And then ultimately, the person who showed interest in it years before at the Wheel Horse show, it's in their collection right now. So I do know where it is. In actuality, that picture right there, that picture was supposed to be given to him. As you can see, I haven't done that yet. So I will. We talk fairly regularly, so he knows it's here and it's his, but I just haven't given it to him. Next up, my RJ59. This tractor I still own. I've owned this one for, I think the video's been up for about 10 years. And I think I had it about a year before I made the video itself for it. So I've had this tractor a long time. Kind of an interesting story on how I ended up with it by sheer luck. A friend of mine had asked me to head down to Milford, Connecticut to pick up some parts, or Guilford, sorry, it was Guilford, Connecticut, to pick up some parts from him. He bought them from some dude, and this is when Craigslist was pretty big, so it was a pickup off of Craigslist for him. He wasn't going to be able to go get the parts, so he asked me to go down and get the parts for him, and I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I get there, there's the parts, pay the individual, and they're like, hey, are you into these kinds of tractors? And I was like, yeah, I'm into these tractors. He says, well, we got a tractor in the basement. Would you like to go take a look at it? And then I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll take a look at it. I walk in and that thing is there. I was like, oh my God. And I was like, oh my God. And I paid $300 for that tractor, and which was, even back then, was a huge steal. All original tractor, a little bit of wear and tear here and there, but I was able to make the deal. It's kind of funny. I drove from Guilford, Connecticut back home to get my trailer and to get the money, and to drove all the way back there, and it was about 50 minutes away. So I drove down, paid the person, took the parts, drove all the way home, picked up my trailer, picked up the cash, and then drove all the way back down, picked up the tractor, and drove. It was an affair. But anyways, brought it home. Motor is in great shape. It's a little tired. It'll start to smoke a little bit if it runs a little, if you let it idle for too long. I rebuilt the transmission, powder coated the wheels, the cream color, and the seat cream color, and then just totally cleaned it. And just, I think one or two of the bearings in the front were bad, so I swapped those out. But overall, that tractor is still with me. It is just it's an amazing machine. I really should take it out in 2023 and start it up. It's been a long time. It's probably been about 6 or 7 years since the last time I started. I know it still turns over, so it's probably going to need the whole general maintenance thing. The points, the carburetor, oil change, just all the basics. But that thing should fire up and drive. But yeah, no, that's my RJ59, and that was probably, I think that was the second one I did on the channel. But people ask me about that, and there's a series of people that call me from or text me every once in a while, are you going to sell it? And right now it's not for sale, but really, really an amazing tractor. Next one, the Rat Tractor. This was just my crazy thought of slapping all the kind of like the extra parts that I had hanging around the house into a tractor. I had a clone motor on it. The transmission was rebuilt. I jacked up the front end to make it look like a make it look like a gasser from the 60s, something to that effect. Actuality, the rear rims that are on that tractor are on my RJ35 right now. Those are 2-piece cast iron rims. They're 12.5s. They probably came off of a walk-behind tractor of the day. Super cool. Everybody it's like one of those parts where it's not original, so like the purists go like that with it. But once they see the wheels and they figure out what it is, yeah, they're like, oh no, those things are pretty darn cool. I've never seen it. Basically, there's a back half of the rim, okay, which has the back bead, and then there's like an open shell that's all cast iron, which has the front of the bead. So you put it together. You put the open ring on the back, flat back, and you bolt it together. Fill your tire up. Obviously, you got to run a tube because of the seam. It's not airtight. But yeah, so that tractor was pretty cool. It would pull a wheelie pretty effortlessly. And the clone motor, it ran fine, you know. Ultimately, that tractor went through a bunch of different stages. The way it started to the way it ended were totally different. I went a little too over the top with it. At the end, it had become where it was kind of a novelty, cool thing, and people had a lot of interest in it. As it morphed, it kind of went over the top, and I went a little too far with it. But ultimately, there was a person that was very interested in it. They ended up buying it from me. They didn't have it too long, and at the end of the day, I don't think they were very happy with the tractor. I think they were like, you know, like when it finally settled in, you're like, I'm not too. I wish I had maybe not hadn't bought it. You know, and I'll be 100% honest. I mean, I could see where they're coming from, and before I knew it, and this is not a negative, just before I knew it, I think it was all chopped up and sent off in its merry way, which is fine, because once I sold it, I was done with it anyways. But I do feel bad that they weren't completely happy with it. You know, it happens. I'm not going to be able to make everybody happy. Next up, number 4. We need to talk. Oh, the Power Pup. Boy, this was a missed opportunity. This is it is the most watched video in my YouTube portfolio, if you want to call it. 740 plus thousand views. I still to this day get questions about the Power Pup. Do I have it? Will I sell it? Whatever happened to it? And you know, I made a decision to sell it right after this video because an RJ35 came up for sale, and I really wanted the RJ35. Now, monetarily, okay, let's just talk about money here. The RJ35 is worth about 3 times what this Power Pup is worth. Driving. That's just how it is. But development of the channel, and that's what I missed. The Power Pup project should have been done from the perspective to build my channel, and it was totally a missed opportunity on my part, because I never thought that the interest in the Power Pup itself would be as big as it is. And 9 years later, 10 years later, I still get questions and comments about the Power Pup. Ultimately, what happened to the Power Pup is not much on my part. I bought it from my brother, brought it home, cleaned it, you know, super cool with the angled gearbox and the T52 transmission and the Crosley rear end, the rear differential from a Crosley. It was just super, super cool. But what I ended up doing is I ended up selling it to a guy in New Jersey, or it ultimately ended up to a guy in New Jersey who turned it into a puller. And I was trying to find some pictures of it that I got years and years ago of it pulling a sled. And then it fell off the face of the planet. I don't know where it is. I don't know whatever happened to it. But it's definitely been MIA for years and years and years. If you got it and you watch my video here, put a comment below. I'd like to know if it's even still around. But yeah, that was definitely, without a doubt, a missed opportunity. Well, with that, I'm not going to bore you any longer with some tractors, but just definitely want to say, as we come towards the end of the year here, I just want to thank each and every single one of you for your viewership. My content this year was a little bit light on substance, on the basis that I have a job. Actually, my work computer is like right here. I have a job that's become pretty intense, so I really haven't had a whole lot of time to work on things. The owner of the RJ35 is, I think, still licking his wounds, but he said that he's making progress. So the RJ35 project should be coming back up fairly soon. I'm not pressuring him. There's no pressure on it. Nothing. You know, whenever he comes up with, he'll let me know, and then we'll get back on it. The other thing is, yeah, I haven't, like I said in my last video, I haven't followed up yet with the individual who's been kind enough to make me a new gearbox for my senior. Leave that individual alone. They'll get a hold of me when they're ready to let me know that it's been finished. So looking forward to that. So a lot of things coming up for probably the first quarter of next year. I still have that 16 horsepower Kohler engine that I still want to go through and rebuild and, get a cam and probably do like a long rod conversion on it, have the crank balanced and stuff like that, and then put it in the Little Mule. Ultimately, I'd like to put a big built motor in the Little Mule. So with that, there it is. Those are four, or was it four? Yeah, I think it was four tractors that we talked about. There's been a bunch of others. So if you're interested and you'd like to know what happened to some of the other tractors, please leave a comment below. Actually, leave a comment on which tractor you'd like me to talk about in general, and I'll tell you where the heck it is, to the best of my abilities. Because I can track down pretty much the Panzers. I know, well, there's one I don't know. And it would be kind of interesting to know where it is. So I might ask some of you for some help on trying to track it down. But yeah, so with that, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for all your viewership. Please like, share, and subscribe if you would. Leave a comment below with your interest in maybe seeing where some of my other tractors are. And as always, until we meet again, or until we start the next ridiculous project, you have a nice day.